Hello, listener. I want to remind you to check out my new Ultra Tri-Fest coming to Whistler, British Columbia in August 2025. It has 5 racing formats to choose from, and the feature event will be the new Ultra 515 Worldwide Championships, in which racers from every 515 race in the world may attend. Get all the details at ultratrifestcanada.com, and feel free to contact me personally with any questions.
You're listening to 515, the Ultra Podcast, the show that invites you into the lives of people who make up the Ultra family. Here's your host for these conversations, Larry Ryan.
Thanks, MJ. It's hard to believe that it's already been a year since Simon Cochrane laid down that record finish at Australia. Joining me today is Jeff Morris to preview the field of competitors at the 2024 edition, coming up next weekend, May 11th to the 13th. So today we're just going to jump right into our conversation as we have a lot to discuss about the upcoming Australia. I would like to welcome back to the podcast the man in charge of the event, race director Jeffrey Morris. Hello.
Good morning, good afternoon, Larry and everyone.
You were with me this time last year to preview your race as well. There were some stunning performances there. But before we get into that, maybe let's just catch up a little bit. Tell me what's been happening with you personally in the past year that, is outside of this organizing this race, which I'm sure takes up a majority of your time. But, how are things in the real life? How's the real job going and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, the real job's still getting that generation of young motorbike mechanics out there in my neck of the woods and, organising a few races in between. So it's hard to believe it's 12 months since, Shane had done his 6 races and Simon Cochrane just did his superhuman time down there in Noosa, and it's still bubbling along. We've still got 355 happening as a pathway for people. I still run another race here locally in my town. It's only 100 k's. Only 100 k's. Isn't that a crazy thing to say? But I love it. It keeps me really too busy. But those race days are just spectacular, and it's why I put so much time in it. It's just amazing, and I can't wait. Noosa just seems to have snuck up so quickly, and here we are only sort of 7 weeks away or something. So, yeah, really keen.
Yeah, and that Simon Cochrane performance last year, outstanding. I don't know if that's going to get topped this year at your race, but I'm sure we'll have something just as fascinating, maybe in a different way.
And that's the beauty of the race, isn't it? We had those 2 notable performances, which was Shane doing all those races in the calendar year, and then we had Simon with his time. But we all know these races, every single individual that gets there has a story to tell and has done something amazing to do it. So that's why we do it. That's why we love it. That's why we're all hooked on this sport and this distance, because whether you do it in 19 hours or whether you've done 6 in a year, doing one is amazing, and you drag your family and friends along for it. I know I keep saying that stuff when I talk to you, but we all know it takes a team and it takes a village and it takes a tribe, and it's what we just love about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully we can hit on some of those newcomers that are coming into the family this year as well and talk about their stories.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, you were just on recently for the roundtable discussion as well, back in episode 9 of the season, where we got together a bunch of race directors and a few veteran racers to kind of talk about ultra triathlon and the state of ultra triathlon. And I don't know if we came up with any answers during that discussion. We definitely had a lot of questions, but I think it was a fair assessment of where things are as far as athlete interest that we were kind of discussing, and some of the issues that are popping up for the race directors as far as rising costs and how it is difficult to keep everything at that high level with the rising cost and not outprice the athletes. Now, you came in and said that you definitely don't want to compromise on the experience for the athlete for your event in Australia, and you were very clear that Tony Horton is the owner of your races and the owner of the Ultra 355. That it's very important to him as well to keep the quality of these up. And tell us just a little bit about your race and what can the athletes expect who come to your races for a race experience other than just the 3 days of racing. What else is happening around your event?
So we kick off in Noosa on Thursday. So we race Saturday, Sunday, Monday, or our 3 days racing. So kick off on Thursday, which is a registration day. So they come down to the finish line area. They get to meet all the team behind the race. So people that they don't necessarily see across race weekend that have worked with me in pulling the race together, they get to meet all them. They ask lots of questions, about the course and about things. People are still, especially those first timers, they're really unsure. They're nervous. Mm-hmm. Probably half my team have done the race before. I haven't done it, and I'm very upfront about that. But I've seen a lot of people go through. But some of the people on our team that are amazing athletes that have completed the distance, the athletes can talk to them, and we don't rush that. We space it out through the day. People come in and spend half an hour to an hour with us, I guess, and have a good chat and have questions about the course and those sorts of things. So that's the Thursday. They get already touch and feel some of the race resources, the finish lines there almost set up and things as we go about our business. Friday, so slightly different this year. We had it more formal, but this year it's going to be a bit more an informal breakfast. So we're going to have a big barbecue breakfast at one of the community centres in Noosa. People can come along, have a bacon and egg roll, have a chat and just be around their crew, be around the other athletes, the other crews. Mm-hmm. And then we do a full briefing. So we go into a theatre at that community centre and we spend 2 or 3 hours going through every single aspect of the race. And it's the chance for the crew captains, the crews, the athletes to, once again, it's a bonding thing. It's about asking questions and everyone getting exactly the same information from our dream team that puts the race on. So that brings everyone together. And then, then we're 2 days in and we start racing. So Saturday, we've got the race on the beautiful Noosa Main Beach. It's just spectacular there. Kind of the race goes as most of the races do. The format's the same as the 515 races around. Saturday, Sunday, Monday racing gets done. And then on the Tuesday, we have our banquet. So we go to the really nice resort in the centre of Noosa. Massive sit-down dinner. We've got capacity for about 220 people there. So everyone can bring all their crew, have a really nice meal together. Everyone gets their time on stage to talk about what they want to talk about. For some people, it's about what they did leading in. For some people, it's about what happened across the weekend. Some people have maybe got a broader message. There's some people that come to this with causes that they're advocating for, which is absolutely, if that's part of their life and their journey, that's what we want to hear from them. So we spend some, it ends up being, I don't know, what we end up about 4 or 5 hours, I think we end up spending all together on that Tuesday and really sharing all that and getting your finisher jacket and your trophy that's got your times on it, and getting your time to shine, whether you're Simon Cochrane or Shane Duffy or someone who's just been there for the first time and has taken nearly 36 hours, you are the centre of attention for those 5 minutes or so, to tell everyone who you are and what you did and acknowledge who got you there. So that's really important. That Tuesday, that time afterwards is so important to our tribe. We make no apologies if that's a big part of it. And yes, it adds to the cost. But I think especially for the one and done people, that's really important. And it just rounds out their week. It rounds out their year that they've taken to get there. And we just love that. And we put a lot of time to make sure that that's really special.
Yeah. And I think that's always one of the things that I've enjoyed most about these races as well is you've seen these people. Maybe you've crossed paths with them on day 1 or day 2 or day 3, rarely, all the way along. And then you get to find out, how did that go for them and what were the struggles and what were the triumphs and all the stories are great.
Yeah, that's it. And as a race organizer, it's a bit weird sometimes. I run my 100-kilometre long distance race is very controlled. I know what happens on course. I've got people everywhere. I log every single radio comm that happens because it's a 5-6 hour race.
Mm-hmm.
What happens on Tuesday is people get up on stage and talk about this thing that happened on course, and we busted a wheel, and this team came along and they gave us a wheel, or we found our Mars bars were out of date and they gave us more nutrition. And you just go, I didn't know this happened. It's almost uncomfortable. You go, hang on, we should have been on top of this. But no, this is the race and this is the tribe that comes from it. And the stories are beautiful. You laugh, you cry, you get goosebumps. And
Absolutely.
it's the most spectacular time. So yeah, it's the Tuesday is the payoff for, particularly for me and my team. I think we work, the race finishes Monday and then we've got to get everything ready for Tuesday. So Tuesday is when we can switch off, but we see the smiles, we see the tears, and every hour that we spent in the past year bringing this to fruition is paid back in spades. And I know all my team look forward so much to that Tuesday. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you guys in Australia, because I know everybody does it a little bit different, do you guys do any special awards outside of the finisher award?
Yeah, so we have a couple. Obviously, having our history in Ultraman from those 3 years when we were under Ultraman, we still have some of those, Aloha Kakua type awards. So yeah, they don't have to be given out. So when people do something that's exceptional, we want to acknowledge that. We always acknowledge with Tony's history in the forces. He always likes to do a Defence Force award. So someone that's been in that public service frontline area, police, fire, any of our Defence Forces. So we acknowledge someone who's been the fastest person from one of those areas. We also have what we call the longboard. So being Noosa, we give a longboard to the person who finishes in the slowest time. So they battled hard. Like I said, whether you take 19 hours or you take 35 hours and 50 minutes, in some spheres of thinking, the 35-hour, 50-minute person has worked way harder. So we, just as, you acknowledge that person that finishes first, we actually make a point of acknowledging that person that finished in the longest time. So that's something that we do. And yeah, as I said, some of those other awards where if something exceptional's happened, we want to acknowledge that, particularly that team spirit, that family spirit where you've gone out of your way to help someone else in their time of need. So, yeah.
Now, you were just mentioning that Tony has started this, and I think your first race was back in 2015. Is that correct?
Yep, that's correct. Yep.
Yeah. And from the last time we spoke, I know that you were actually at that race in 2015. So maybe give us a little historical context of, are there any changes that have happened over the years so far? Like what's been the growth of your organization?
So yeah, 2015 was year one. As mentioned, I crewed for a good friend of mine. I had no idea about the race until 3 or 4 months before when Hayden asked me. So, I went in a little bit blind to what it was, experienced it, was amazing. So, yeah, those years, so 15, 16, 17, we were officially part of the Ultraman brand. And those races were amazing, and that's been built on. Course-wise, it really hasn't changed. The first year was very slightly different, I think. But Tony, Craig, Wayne Metcalf, Nick Mallett all travelled that course for probably 2 years prior to get the perfect course. And it really is the perfect course. No disrespect to any other races around, but I can't believe anyone would build a better course, better 5:15 course. The scenery that you get, the places you go, it's just spectacular. And the beauty of being able to be based in Noosa is really good. It's nice and central for athletes and easy logistically to work around. So yeah, we're now so this is it's 10 years since we started, but this is the 9th race. Obviously missed one during COVID, as most people did, at least one. So this is year 9 for us. We are looking forward to next year, which will be the 10th edition. And now we're numbering 340 people that have competed. So there's obviously a few more people that have done it because we've had people that have come back multiple times, but we're up to 340 in the numbering. So there's been at least 340. And yeah, it's I'm blessed to be custodian for it. Dale Jordan looked after in the early days, and then Mel Kemp for a couple of years, and now I've taken over. But you look at our core crew. You look at the like of Peter Hudson, that's done 2 races here. He's been to Kona and taken on the World Championships there. Jason Clark, he's finished one. A really valuable member of our team. Tiff took on the race, and by minute and 30 missed cut off on day 2. Went out in day 3 and finished the run. So, Tiff's by our terminology, a participant. She didn't finish every day under 12 hours. And you know what? In some spheres, someone might have thrown their toys out the cot at a minute and 30 on a 12-hour day and gone, that's ridiculous and whatever. But Tiff has gone, this is about our race. This is about our family and our integrity. And if there's a rule, you follow it. And Tiff now turns up every year and does a lot of the heavy lifting. We've got Tiff's corner out on course. We have Steve's corner where he sits with the mic when Steve's in the country for the race. And we have Tiff's corner where everyone sees Tiff twice out on day 2 ride, and she gives him a big cheer. And that, once again, that tribe and that family that's carried through. If you look at 2015 to 2024, sure, things have changed, but there's so much that stayed the same, and there's so much understanding of feeling that is there and will always be there because of the people, because of the tribe that we're building in that space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you've never had any shortage of participants that want to be doing your race either. So obviously you're going to have those people that come back, and even if they don't race again, they're coming back and they're helping. And so you've got a lot of family to draw on at this point. That's
it. Yeah. Like I see at the moment, we're harnessing details of everyone's crew that they're bringing along to the race. And we're seeing, obviously, in some of the athletes, we've seen that, hang on, that name, we've seen that person crew before. But then as the athletes, crew members are coming through from this year, you go, oh, that person's raced before. So, crew to athlete to crew, it's just a beautiful thing to see. And for an athlete taking on the race, to have someone on their crew that's done it before is just priceless. And, in those moments when you doubt yourself, whether it be in the training or in the race, you've got someone with that real world experience that can get you through and go, you know what? Yeah, it's tough, but we're going to get there. So it's just, it is so good to see. And when I see these names come through and people saying, hey, I'm back to crew, it does put a big smile on your face.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's get into what's going to be happening then on May 11th to the 13th. Maybe we can start with a breakdown of the athletes. How many males and how many females do you have coming? How many internationals? How many first timers? Maybe some of that to start off with.
I've got round numbers on that stuff. So we're down to around 40. We've had a few injuries this year. We had two broken collarbones in the one race that took 2 people out, sadly.
They didn't hit each other, did they?
No, they didn't hit each other, no. But, so that's a couple of it, which is sad. And so we've had, a bit of illness and things go around. So I think we're down to, we're going to have about 40 on the start line. We started with a full field of 55, and we've sort of dropped off, and they've got a few returning men, but none of the women have been here before. Some have certainly been here crewing and have some experience with the race, and I've got some experienced people with them. But none of the females have actually done the race before. So it's a bit light on the females. We're not quite as blessed as Arizona that just happened. That had they were dangerously close to 50% female, and of course Michelle took it out in a spectacular race. So that was beautiful seeing the girls really show them how it was done over there, and a standalone time that was amazing. And that's, I think we've only got 3 or 4 returning athletes, so lots and lots of first timers, which is always exciting. But like I said, there's almost there's only a few names that haven't been around and about before, either crewing or they've been sniffing around for a few years. So that's always exciting. He got half a dozen coming from overseas. So a few guys from India, Kenan from Malaysia, and also Seong from Thailand. So a bit of international representation there. Light on Kiwi, so our New Zealand friends from across the ditch. At this stage, Carl Reed's hoping to make it, but Carl's battling a little bit of injury at the moment, so he may not make it. But he's actually our only Kiwi guy that's going to come across for it this year.
And he's been a previous champion, correct?
Yep, two-time champion, Carl. So 2018 and 2019 winner. But yeah, as Carl would say, his old carcass is giving up on him a bit at the moment. He wants to go fast and he keeps breaking bits. So yeah, so if Carl makes it, that'll be awesome for us. But yeah, there's no pressure on Carl. It's looking after himself is the priority at the moment. We'll see whether he comes. But yeah, it'll be interesting if he doesn't. We'll have no New Zealanders, which generally we have lots of people. For your international listeners, New Zealand's a 3-hour flight from here. So yeah, they're almost honorary Australians, or they probably tell us that we're honorary Kiwis. But normally we have quite a few come across for it. But yeah, just Carl this year, and so he may not make it. But yeah, still the few there, like we said, Malaysia, Thailand, and Indians coming across, which is cool. We always have a few internationals. Some of them come with crew, but a number of them we've organised crew for, and we've got locals that are helping them out with their crewing, because it is a big call. Like we said, the Noosa course isn't laps or anything. It is, almost for the ride of the 420 kilometres, you've got probably 350 kilometres of unique roads. So there is a lot of local knowledge or a bit of prep needed in doing that. So when we can have those internationals that need help, there's a few awesome people, ex-athletes, people that have crewed a number of years that help them out. So that's always good as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, let's get into talking about the ladies you have coming then. As I saw on your list, you've got 6 ladies coming, ranging from age 32 to 54, with a couple of Kona racers there in the mix.
So yeah, Jess Dudley, who's a local just south of Noosa, where the race is held, raced Kona. She's a coach, been sniffing around the race for a little while, and has finally decided to race. So I know she's training the house down at the moment. So that's going to be interesting to see how she goes. Seong from Thailand does a lot of trail running, going to be a really strong runner. And we'll see how she goes with the rest of that. Claire Ferguson, who's got a lot of support behind her, some people that have done the race before, helping her out. And obviously very good athlete. She's been an age group winner at IM level. So obviously very, very speedy, and also recently been to Kona. So yeah, Becca Hoschke and Melinda Cockshut are really good friends, both strong racers. They're kind of doing this together as a challenge. So yeah, they've got a thing called Heart of Courage project, which is supporting Indigenous literacy and health in Australia. So they've got a real meaning behind their race.
Rebecca, was she a professional at one point?
Yeah, so as she said, she's kind of in another life that was there. So yeah, like I said, very, very strong athletes. So yeah, it's cool.
And Melinda has taken her age group also at the World Championship. So you got 3 pretty top end women there that have performed well at the World Championships for Ironman.
Yeah, really cool. So Melinda came up and did 355 Australian as well, which was really cool. So yeah, has had a taste of 3-day racing as well. And then Sharon Andronako, who has had a whole stack of false starts between COVID and injury, but is finally hitting that start line. So she's got a really supportive crew behind her. Her partner Jason's finished UM very speedily before. and has a very talented team supporting her. So yeah, lots of really strong athletes out there with a lot of history and a lot of racing behind them.
Wow, yeah, that sounds like it's going to be the race to watch then. It's going to be on the women's side. Today's episode is brought to you by Ultra Tri-Fest Canada, where you can race the traditional 515, a 515 relay, or a 515 non-stop. There's also a 360K format, which does not require a crew. And because we are hosting you in Whistler, there is also an ultra gravel race. And if you've always wanted to go to a 515 World Championship, check out the information on the website about our new Worldwide Championships, which is available to every 515 racer of all time. We are now asking athletes to express their interest in attending the 2025 event. Email us at ultratrifestcanada@gmail.com to express your interest in joining us in 2025. This will help us to determine a viable field for each of the events, and you will not have to pay an entry fee until it is confirmed. Again, get the information from ultratrifestcanada.com, proud sponsor of 515 The Ultra Podcast. All right, well, let's flip over to the men. Maybe we'll try and go through them by age group. I see you've got 4 men listed in your 20 to 29 category.
Yeah, a couple of guys with really interesting things behind them in that younger age group. So you got Ben Amory, Alex Cleary, Vishesh Madden from India, and Josh McCaskill. So Josh was a late one. He'd been thinking about it, and we had a bit of a chat on the phone earlier this year. So he was probably the last person to officially enter the race. Alex Cleary is a really interesting guy. So born and raised in Mount Isa in very, very western Queensland, in the central part of Australia. And then actually up until very recently was working in Africa. Super strong runner, not an amazing triathlete up until I think he's done or is about to do a 70.3, but up until then it had only really done Olympic distance tries.
Oh, wow.
We had a couple of really long conversations over a few weeks because as I said to him, I'm not going to let you enter. If I don't think you can make the finish line, we're not going to take your entry fee. That's not what UM is about. So we had a couple of conversations over a few weeks. He wasn't swimming a lot. And I said, I'm not letting you enter until you start swimming. So he actually found a water storage pond in the mine in Mali in Western Africa where he was working. So the storage pond was about 20 metres long. It was basically metre-high walls made of steel with a plastic liner in it, and it was the water storage pond for part of the air conditioning system, I think, in the mine. So Alex started doing his training in a 20-metre storage pond on a mine site.
Oh, wow.
So
I hope he ordered an endless pool to stick in there.
No,
he wasn't trying to do laps on 20 meters.
He just cut laps, and he's posted some pictures on his socials. It was interesting, and like I said, I did have serious conversations with him about whether I would actually let him enter because I had concerns that he wasn't. Swimming 10Ks in the open water is a big feat. So we had some very serious conversations. Not worried about his running. He ducked down to Antarctica in December and just ran a lazy marathon in Antarctica on his way home from Africa. So the guy can run.
I saw he's also done the 7-day marathon, the 7-continent 7-day marathon challenge.
Yep, he's done some amazing things. Absolutely, very strong one. I've got no worries. If we get him to day 3, he's going to hit that finish line. Yeah. I really want to see him safely out of that water on day 1. I'll be a very happy race director once Alex is out of the water on day 1. So but like I said, we talk about these particular amazing things that pop up, but everyone's got that story behind that. Everyone's making sacrifices in their life. So but those stories can be really interesting sometimes. So
I see your athlete from India. He's a sports analyst and a sports writer. So maybe he can get some ink back in India when he returns home.
Yeah, that's it. I'm sure it will be. He'll if he gets to that finish line, he'll be wanting to tell the world about it. And SA super keen. So he's an Ironman finisher, so he's got that behind him. He's been keen, been chatting to him a little bit. So he's got a local crew that are going to help him out here, which is really cool. So yeah, he's coming a little bit unsupported, but getting lots of help from the tribe in Australia.
Awesome. Well, let's look at your next age category then. You've got 9 athletes in the 30 to 39, so that's a fairly big field of men. What are we looking at in that category?
Look, a few interesting ones there. So one of our first returning athletes. So we've got Boris Speckling. So he raced last year and he's back for another crack at it. So yeah, that's we always love that. We talked to him after the race, and there was already that glint in his eye, and then next thing an application came in. So that was very cool.
Which day was it that he didn't make last year?
No, he finished last year.
Oh, he finished last year.
He was a finisher last year. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Yeah. But yeah, just for someone with a young family, it's a massive commitment, and I knew he loved it and wanted to give it another crack. But it's not always easy. It's so much training time and time then up here with family. So it's really awesome to have him back. One of the really interesting ones in there is Matty O'Brien, who is a guy that had a change of lifestyle only a few years back. Has a really cool story to tell. Loved his offshore fishing. Mate, flipped a boat and a long way out to sea. Was rescued by a helicopter, and just had a literal change in career and lifestyle after that moment, and wanted to give back to the people that saved his life, basically. So he's become an airman on rescue helicopters now. So he actually works out of a place called Timor-Leste off the northern coast of Australia as a helicopter rescueman, but was very new to triathlon. Only really a few years into triathlon, went, did the Sprint Olympic 70.3. He came and raced 355 Australia here in Hervey Bay. And pretty much by the time we finished having dinner all together on the Monday night, I think he was locked in. I think he was trying to convince himself that he wasn't locked in, but I think Peter Hudson did a really good job of convincing him that he needed to be taking on Australia. So
nice.
Matty was there. So that's so Matt O'Brien's, he's coming up from New South Wales to give it a crack. So
nice.
We've got Nesta Ocha Rivera coming up from Victoria. He's got some past finishers on his crew. I think Erica Lum's going to be his team captain. She's a 2-time finisher. Aaron Hayes, who's a very fast athlete, good mates with Timmy Franklin. He's running around the world. A lot of Ironman experience, 355 behind him. So he'll be there and strong. Chris Allison coming up, once again, really good runner, lots of ultramarathons behind him. And then a couple of our fast guys, so Andrew Strickland and Anthony Vlodmans, who, a 9:17 Ironman is pointy in anyone's language. So that's pretty
and
cool.
That was Anthony, yeah.
That was Anthony, yeah. And then we've got Joe Stallard, who's really, once again, another really good runner, but lots of Ironman that has been to Ironman World Championships as well.
Moving on to the next age category, the 40 to 49s, you have 8 athletes there. This is where Carl Reed will fall if he shows up. Tell me about some of the other men in that category.
Yeah, so in with the 4 at the front of their age, the youngest one there is Mark Renfrey from up in North Queensland. Fairly new to it, has knocked off Cairns Ironman, but loves the challenge, which is the kind of people that we love being in the race. So Paul McDonald's almost a local from down in Brisbane here. Once again, really good runner. Has given 355 Australia a crack as well, so has experience in that 3-day racing. So he knows what it's going to take. 355 times kind of 1.5 and you're there almost. So he'll have a good day out. Jason A, coming from the other side of the country, from Western Australia, he spent a few days recently running with Tim Franklin. So he's already got that tribal feeling. He got out with his girlfriend and supported Timmy Franklin on part of the run, which was fantastic for him. Jason's claim to fame, and he'll love me saying this, he has a massive head. I actually sent him our swim cap because he wanted to make sure it wasn't going to give him a headache. He has trouble with swim cap, so he's been training in his race swim cap, and he's happy to report back that our swim caps do suit people with giant melons. So good work, Chase.
Yeah, as long as he remembers to pack it.
Well, that's it. I'll have a spare one here for him. But yeah, he was very appreciative. It's giving him dramas. In all seriousness, it's giving him dramas. So, and I think we all kind of know someone that swim caps aren't your best of friends sometimes. But even worse if they're a bit tight and giving you a headache. It's a long time to be wearing it at UM, that's for sure. So yeah. Carl, flying mullet minus the flying mullet. Hopefully he makes it, but as we say, we want our family members to look after themselves. So he'll come if he's fit. If not, we know he'll be cheering on from New Zealand.
Right.
So Ben Cummins coming up from New South Wales, got a couple of Ironmans behind him. Haven't talked to Ben too much. Always interesting when someone lists their occupation as a wine educator. I'm sure that's a terrible job to have to do to educate people about wine, but I'm sure he'll enjoy a few wines at Peppers after the race on the cheese day. So yeah. So then a couple of internationals. So No Duran Luna coming from Mexico. So has taken on Ultra MX 515 over there, knocked it off twice, and also done the non-stop twice. So that's got massive amount of experience behind him at the distance. Another one that's coming with just a couple of people, one of Shane Duffy's ex-crew, who's from, I'm going to get this wrong, I think she's from Colombia, but speaks Spanish and English, which is really cool because he doesn't have a heap of English. So we've kind of found locally some people that can crew and interpret for him. So that's going to be important to get him to the finish line. Obviously knows the race, but needs a bit of that local knowledge and help. So, yeah. And then Mahesh coming from India, a lot of Ironman experiences behind him and just wants to step up and do that next big distance. So, and then from further south then in Victoria, Australia, is Travis Coulson. So he's coming up, recent Ironman experience, just coming to give the big dance a crack, really. So, yeah, and that rounds out our 40 to 49 athletes.
All right. Well, let's jump right ahead into the 50 to 59, where you have 9 athletes.
Yep. So we start off with Ian Blatchford. So been around a bit, has been to Kona, has taken on Roth. So obviously knows what it takes, and his goal in life is to stay married with all the training that he does. So I think there's a few people feel that we know the bit that it takes, and it can be hard sometimes. So yeah.
I see that he's also a pretty quick guy. The 70.3. He's got some age group wins and podiums at the 70.3.
If you've finished a 70.3 first age grouper, you've got a bit of speed in that body. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see get him to translate that across to the longer distance. And it's always interesting to see how those distances swap over and if they can pace themselves and keep it all under control for 3 days. So yeah, I'm sure he's got some big goals out there. And then Kenan Murugasan, I'll get in trouble for that, I'm sure. He's coming from Malaysia. So he's taken on Ultraman Canada twice. It's been a long time between drinks. So he did Ultraman Canada in 07 and 14. Has done 49 means, including the world champs. So definitely an athlete, but I know he, by his own admission, has been away from training for a little bit. So I know he's just looking at that finish line. That's the goal for Canada. So yeah. And then Tony Goodyear, someone he was going to give it a crack last year. Unfortunately, picked up an injury and missed that. Tony's now 50. He's still a speedy athlete, a lot of experience, been to Kona multiple times.
Mm.
So he'll be interesting to see. But he's modified his training, I know, and is making sure he gets to that start line this year. Definitely been a speedy athlete, but I think he'll be a little bit reserved this time to make sure he does get to that finish line.
Yeah. You might have to have a 50-year-old award. This is, you get 4 guys right at 50.
There's a whole right there. They've just had that birthday and tipped over into the next one. So yeah. So Adrian Copeland's coming up from Victoria. Laura running in his background. But yeah, he's really committed. From memory, he's a concreter, so he'll enjoy being in the running shoes, not in the gum boots, which is cool. And then some guy, 51-year-old bloke called Shane Duffy. Don't know much about him.
Oh, the guy from Fitzroy Falls.
That's him. That's Shane Duffy. Yeah. So this is Shane's 4th time back here. So what does that mean? It's his 8th or 9th 515. No, it must be that. Yeah, I can't quickly do the math in my head there, but obviously I'm pretty sure everyone who's listening to your podcast knows Shane Duffy. He's not only an amazing athlete for the things he's done, but he's a human that epitomises the spirit that is 515, that is that is Ultraman, whatever you want to call it. He's just that guy that transcends all that, and just a superb human, just a lovely guy. So yeah, we're keen to have Shane rolling around up here again.
Shane's still not 100% though from last year.
Well, I was going to say, I think I'm not quite sure how much training Shane's doing. I think he's doing enough to get here and get finished, but we'll see. The guy knows how to get to the end of a race. Those that weren't following the race last year. Obviously, Australia last year was his 6th race in a calendar year, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, 6 races. Well, not a calendar year, sorry, in a 12-month period. So. Started with Australia, went through all the Ultraman series, including World Championships, and came back here 3 days, maybe 4 days before the race.
It was 2 days.
In Noosa. 2 days, I can't remember. It's a wild time in my world, but Shane got run over by a car in Noosa. Basically snapped the bike in half, snapped hands in half. Gail Lau, the ultra massage legend, patched Shane together. Literally taped them together. I have a video of his hands being untaped after the bike leg on day 1, I think it was. I still don't know how he even got to the start line, let alone the finish line that year. Yeah. But just amazing guy, and like I said, it's just someone that epitomises that spirit, and you're doing it to push yourself and really get there. So yeah, it's going to be great to see Shane again and have him go around. So yeah. So Anthony Lucas is a guy from Cairns, North Queensland. So Anthony messages me now and then. He's looking for some sympathy, but it's a struggle training in far North Queensland. For those that aren't aware, it's pretty much hot and steamy all year round. You're always 70% above humidity and rarely below 30 degrees Celsius up there. It's tough training. I always tell him to harden up, but the poor bugger gets no sympathy from me, but lovely guy. There's a few, we've got some other races up there that we're going to race that have had to pull out, and they're helping Anthony through his training, which is cool. But very experienced guy. When you've done 39 Ironmans and you've been to Kona, you obviously got what it takes physically, and having chatted to him, he's got what it takes mentally too, and he's bringing some experienced people down with him to crew, so that's cool as well.
Yeah. And your next 2 are also from Queensland.
Yeah, so we've got Stuart Payne, who's a coach, done a lot of Ironmans, had some athletes get through 5-on-5. He took on 355 here last year, so he knows what 3-day racing's about. So he's got a lot of distance behind him, got 3-day racing experience behind him, and yeah, he's going to be having a good 3 days out there. I know that.
And he's going to be the one that my son is cheering for. I'll tell you that right now.
Is this because he's a Crystal Palace fan?
Crystal Palace fan, just like my son.
Dear. Dear, oh dear. Everyone should be supporting Southampton. We need all the help we can get. So last in that category, the second last athlete is Paul Giddings. Paul's a great story. I rang Paul. He crewed for an athlete last year. Now I'm going to get it mixed up, so I'm not going to say who it was, but he crewed for an athlete last year. And I rang Paul and I said, mate, we've got some internationals that are applying this year. Are you going to be into crew for someone? He's like, no. And I was like, oh, damn it. And he's like, no, I think I'm going to race. And I'm like, wow, that's next level. So he's got a lot of experience behind him. Done 6 Ironmans, done outdoors, done trail running. Noosa local. I think he lives pretty much on the course. So lots of local knowledge there, but lovely guy, and has already given so much to our tribe through helping other athletes achieve their goals. And now he's going to get out there. So he's going to get some massive cheers from all of us, as all the athletes do. But it's special when you see someone that's given so much then come and have their time to shine. It is really cool. I've got a real good soft spot for Paul. So, yeah. And then our last athlete who pops up in that next age group, but oldest person racing, is Dennis Devereaux. So Dennis has got a cool story. He's from Western Australia. So he travels across to the other side of the country for this. He's going to be classed as a para-athlete. We're about the family. It's about people wanting to get out and push themselves. So Dennis had some pretty severe lower leg injuries 5 or 6 years ago. Really, really badly broken both legs to the point where his ankles are fused. So he can't run. He's going to swim and ride in a standard procedure, if you want to call it that way. But he'll jump in a wheelchair to do the day 3 run. So I'm pretty sure he's going to actually be our first person across that finish line on day 3. And more power to him to get out there and still do that. He's a lovely guy. He's had a couple of good chats to me and wanted to make sure that no one was going to be worried that, there wasn't necessarily a specific category for him, and he wanted to go out and challenge himself like everyone. And everyone knows what the answer to that is. It's like we're in for anyone that wants to get out there and do it. And lovely guy, doing a bit of training with Jason A from Western Australia as well. Dennis has picked up some really experienced crew, Catherine Beeson, who's a former finisher, and Anne Evans, who is the ultra of ultra volunteers and has been crew captain for a number of internationals over years. She lives in Noosa, but she comes up to Hervey Bay and volunteers for me in a big way in Hervey Bay for Ultra 355. Lovely lady, very experienced. So Dennis has definitely got the A team on his crew there. Looking forward to his day 3 run in the wheelchair. It's I wouldn't want to do it myself, and I sure as hell wouldn't want to be pushing myself over that Coolum Hill in a wheelchair. That is going to hurt Dennis big time. So, but he's up for the challenge, that's really cool to have him along.
And you were just mentioning the 355 again there. When's your 355 taking place? When's the next one?
End of August, we race here. So it bridges August and September. So I think 31st, 1st and 2nd off the top of my head. So Hervey Bay is a couple of hours north of Noosa. So we have a lot of people come and take it on almost as a tester for Obviously, a lot of people come and do it just as the goal, which is fantastic. But a lot of people that want to come and do it, test out what is it like to push yourself, have some recovery, push yourself, have some recovery, and then knock out that big run at the end. So we're keen for that and to keep that going. So
and registration's open for that for this year?
Yeah, Rego's open for that. I think I haven't looked in the last little while. I think we've sort of got around 30 to 40 people already chalking up. We capped that one at 100. It's still there and growing. And we're keen to keep that going, to give people a taste of that stuff. As we always say, so for some people it's the goal. For some people it's that intro to 3-day racing and coming along, experience what that tribe feeling is, because we kind of it's keeping that race small and really looking after people and making it feel special and making connections at those races is what it's all about.
Yeah, and that obviously just like all the other ways of coming up through triathlon from sprint, Olympic to half and full, it makes that extra step if someone feels like they need to do that to get over the hump and not face that fear of 5:15.
Yeah, that's right. And it's funny, you have some people take it on, and I don't necessarily think there needs to be a comparison, but you do hear some people go, "Oh, it's the same as Ironman. It's easier, it's harder." To me, it's a different thing. It's still knocking those distances off and experiencing that 3 days of pushing yourself, and then trying to get some recovery in and getting the fueling right, getting the recovery right, to make sure that you make it at the end of that day 3, whether it be 8 hours at 3:55 or 12 hours at 5:15.
Mm-hmm. And for the 355, people that are interested in that, they don't need to bring a crew for that one, though, correct?
No, it's no crew needed for that. So we have a team out there, organise the course so that you've got opportunity to access, your special needs, if you want to call it that. So any nutrition that you might want out on course. So Hervey Bay, we've moved the course to 60K loops. So you out and back 60K. So at 60 kilometres, you can grab anything you need. We keep an eye out there at a few checkpoints with volunteers in case you've got any dramas. Open roads. So it's very much that ultra feeling. But yeah, there's no need to drag some people along with crew and increase that expense. So yeah, grab some mates that want to do the race, and instead of them just helping you, they can come and you can race each other. So yeah, we look forward to that. Hervey Bay, we spotted that point of year. We're a holiday destination, so we have whale watching to come and do at that time of year. So the town is a bit of a buzz, but because we've got lots of accommodation, got a massive long beach in the bay where there's accommodation all the way along, so it's actually still pretty reasonable price wise, even though it's almost our high season. So yeah, I've got a few people that are hitting me up. They want to go across to Gari, across to what was formerly known as Fraser Island, largest sand island in the world. So yeah, we're probably going to go across on a little full driving adventure the day after the race this year. And some of the people that are travelling, Kate Bevilacqua bringing a whole raft of athletes from Western Australia for that.
Oh, okay.
And they're like, so what's our adventure going to be? So yeah, we're going to try and head across to Gari and show them a little bit of Hervey Bay. And no doubt, I know last year some of the families, the partners and children that had come to cheer mum or dad on, went AWOL in the middle of day 2 on the bike leg and were found on a whale watching boat. So it's definitely racecation territory. Come and have a race and have a vacation. And that's part of what it's about. We know that sitting around for 8 or 12 hours watching someone ride a bike is probably not too exciting. So there's definitely some extra things to do here in Hervey Bay at 3:55 time in August, September.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I think the people that listen to this might disagree. They enjoy watching people ride bikes for 8 or 12 hours, and they're willing to do it from their computers when they're not present. Yeah. So what are you guys offering as far as updates on the race, and how can we find those?
So we use one-time timing systems, so still run chip timing at our events. So, not tracking as such, but certainly regular checkpoints. I think at UM you're going to see people sort of every 60 kilometres ballpark. So you're going to know where someone is accurately every couple of hours at a maximum to keep an eye on them. And yeah, same thing when they do 355. Live tracking's not always feasible. We think we're kind of the middle ground with that chip timing and having plenty of timing points out on course is a good way to do it. Obviously, as race crew, we know where people are, but broadcasting, that's a little bit more difficult. So the chip timing's a nice little thing, and we'll put a timing link up on our socials closer to UM time that people can jump on and see when people are clicking over the miles as they go around the course.
And which of the socials do you use to kind of bring people in each day or do updates at certain markers?
Mostly Facebook. So we have a couple of girls that do our Facebook for us. So you'll get pictures of people out of the swim across the finish line each day. We try and cover every athlete at those critical points, and then a bit of update on the cool stuff that's going on out on course as well. So yeah, we kind of try and keep that going. Like literally, really post when everyone finishes the swim, when everyone finishes their ride for the day, each day, and obviously at the run. So you can go and have a look. You don't need to necessarily go and look at a timing link, or, if you're flicking your phone open during the day, you can still see what's happening and where things are at.
Excellent. Well, I look forward to following the race this year again, seeing how my buddy Shane Duffy does and the rest of the racers. Yeah. Thanks for coming and letting us know a little bit about these racers. Now we get a little more connection to them while we're following the race. And best of luck to you and your crew at pulling this one off.
Thanks very much, Larry, and thanks for everything you do in getting the 515 family stuff out there for everyone.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. Remember to check out the show notes for all of the links mentioned in today's episode, including the link to the UM Australia Facebook page, so that you can follow along with the race. Before we go, I thought I would share a few minutes of our next episode with you, when I will be joined by Melissa Uri, who is an Iron, Ultra, and Uberman, as well as a finisher of Epic 5. Here's a few minutes of that conversation. In 2014, then, you come over and do Steve Brown's Ultraman Canada. And Lucy and I were actually at that race as well in 2014. We were crewing for Tony Horton, who shortly thereafter went on and founded Ultraman Australia. So I'm guessing that this is the race where you likely also met Will Rogers for the first time, who will come into the story a little bit later. And,
he does.
and Chad Bentley, who's another Epic 5 racer, was at that race as well. Nick Mallet was there. Yeah. So it was, a lot of people in the circle that you would come back around to a number of times at that race for you. So other than the people that you met there, what's your kind of best memory or takeaway from the Ultraman Canada race in 2014?
Yeah. So as you said, I've definitely made lifelong friends from that race. Will, in particular, he's amazing. Love him. So that was the hardest race I've done. Out of all of the races, I can still say that is the hardest race I've ever done, purely because of everything leading up to that. So the race was in August. In December the previous year, I was knocked off my bike and I broke a vertebrae in my back in December. And so it was, basically one of my first rides. It's like, okay, we're now going to focus on doing Ultraman, this is going to be. And then the next thing I'm ringing my coach just saying, I'm in hospital. I've got a broken back. What do I do? And he, the first thing he said to me, and it was the most reassuring of everything I've heard in my life. He goes, it'll be fine. We'll be fine. We'll get you there. And I was like, okay, amazing. I'm like, I 100% trust you. And, I went to my osteo and he said exactly the same thing. He's like, we'll be fine. And I'm like, amazing. So, and so then the following May, because I did Ironman Cairns as a lead-up race for that, I fell off my bike again and broke a wrist. And I was like, what the hell? My coach said to me, he's like, no more riding outside for you until you get to Canada. I was like, okay, 7 hours on the wind trainer, fine, whatever. I'll just suck it up and do it. So for me, it was just getting to the race was ridiculous. It was really, really hard to actually physically get myself there. And then during the race, I made so many nutrition mistakes. I had no idea what I was doing. And I still feel like I'm learning. I'd never stop learning with that.
Hey, if you liked what you heard today, please tell a friend and be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. We'd appreciate it if you'd rate and review the show while you're there. Drop the names of the people you think we should interview and we'll get in touch with them and make that happen. Thank you for listening to 515, the Ultra Podcast, a production of 55 Enterprises. Now really, go subscribe now before you forget.